remember 4 of them. You know, we think of Srila Prabhupada traveling around the world, we say 14 times or so. And of course, so many things he accomplished at the same time. The more time goes by, the more I see how incredible it was. Because while I was with him, 2.5 years I traveled with him, he made everything look really easy. He never complained. Once Bhakti Swarup Damodar Maharaj went to him complaining, Prabhupada, so many problems. How to deal with so many problems? Prabhupada said, what problems? He said, Prabhupada. He said, as I try to do my service, I come up against opposition, so many problems. Prabhupada said, I don't see any problems. I only see service. And I saw that with Prabhupada. I say I was in his room all day long, chanting his rounds, doing bhajan, playing harmonium. I would come in the room. As soon as I heard the harmonium, I would go in the room and sit next to him. And I waited for his nod. Go ahead, grab the kartals. And then I just play kartals. Reading his books every afternoon. Every day. Imagine at the same time initiating thousands, over 5,000 disciples, opening up 108 centers, deity installations, translating his books every evening. He made it look so easy, but it wasn't easy. I know, just traveling over the last 10 days, 2 days in Chowpatty, 2 days at Mira Road, 2 days at Juhu, like that. We came back exhausted. 10 years, Prabhupada traveled. I think the first deity installation I was with him was Bhaktivedanta Manor, and the installation of the deities there. See a beautiful video of that. And 1 or 2 weeks later, he went to Paris, installed the deities there. There's also a video of that. If you look at some of these videos, if you see now when deities are installed, oh, days. How many days do we spend deity installation? 3 days, right? Minimum. So many different things going on one day, next day. I've been at some of them. Calling the deity, asking the deity form, asking Krishna to come into the deity form, asking Radharani. So many prayers are said. I remember being in Melbourne, Australia, when he installed Radha Krishna in Melbourne, Australia. Marble deities, I think about this big. I remember because we left India with the deities to bring to Australia. Took them on the airplane with us. Not in a cart, not in a case, in a luggage. Just carried them. Myself and one other devotee, I carried Radharani onto the plane. I always sat next to Srila Prabhupada. But on this trip, Srimati Radharani, she stood next to Srila Prabhupada in the seat. You could do things like that in those days. She had her seatbelt on. And then we stopped on the way. She was heavy. Krishna was heavy. Radharani was heavy. Marble. We were in transit. Prabhupada was sitting. Generally, again, I would sit next to Prabhupada. We would chant japa. But now, Radharani, she wasn't installed yet. No clothing on, nothing, just the marble form of Radharani. So she's there in the seat next to Srila Prabhupada. And then I'm in the next seat over. I wasn't thinking anything. For me, it was, every day was like this with Srila Prabhupada. I say every day was like Janmashtami when you were with Srila Prabhupada, because whatever temple you went to, everyone was in ecstasy. Just seeing Srila Prabhupada's face, everyone in ecstasy. So I'm sitting there on one side of Radharani, he's sitting on the other side of Radharani. He looked at me. He said, Krishna is very pleased with your service. Imagine. He could say that. It wasn't a speculation. I took it to heart, and I'm thinking, it's so easy to please Krishna. It wasn't difficult. All I was doing was carrying this. She was heavy. I was young, 23 years old or so. But I'm thinking devotional service. Prabhupada made it sound so easy. And then we brought the deities to Melbourne. Prabhupada was sitting on the Vyasasam by this time. Pradyumna was doing Jagya. But if you see the video, you'll see Prabhupada bathing the deities. Who's seen that video? Any of you seen this video? Prabhupada bathing the deities in Melbourne, Australia? No one? I saw it. I was there, but I've seen it many times. What is he bathing the deities with? A stainless steel, what do you call it? Spoon, yes. A ladle. A stainless steel ladle in a stainless steel pot from the kitchen. He's installing the deities. Only pure devotee can do such a thing. This is what he did, traveling all around the world, installing deities, whatever they had available. We didn't have silver conch shells, silver pots, lotus. No, whatever was available at the time. But Prabhupada was on a mission. So many missions he was on, installing deities all around the world. Our deity minister, Nrsimha Kavacha, he's been the deity minister for ISKCON for decades. He calls legacy deities, the deities that Srila Prabhupada installed himself. No comparison to what Srila Prabhupada did. He could call Krishna right in there. He talked to Krishna. Krishna talked to him. These Radha Parashishwari, Radha Parashishwari, Radha Londonishwara, Rukmini Dwarkadish, unheard of names. Prabhupada gave them. I remember Radha Parashishwara. It was some months later, Prabhupada was in his room, 74, this would have been August 1974. So it was almost a year later. There was a BTG article of the installation, Radha Krishna deity installation in Paris. And there's one photograph, if you find this BTG magazine. And in this photograph, you see Srila Prabhupada, and you see the deities. And Prabhupada was going through, whenever a new publication would come out, Prabhupada would get the first copy. Wherever he was in the world, it would get mailed to him, air mail. However, whatever it took to get to him, one of his books, so many photos you'll see Srila Prabhupada. So he's sitting behind his desk, and we're sitting on the floor in front of him, and he's going through, and he sees the picture, Radha Krishna and himself, and big smile came on his face. He said, just see, I'm looking at Krishna, and Krishna is looking at me. This was Prabhupada. What he did. I see the potency here. Going to the temple, Madan Mohan temple, most amazing Srila Prabhupada's potency. Our godbrother, been here with Bali Madan traveling around for the last month or two. He said, boy, you can feel the potency here. Madan Mohan, Radha Madan Mohan, Lalita, can feel the potency, all coming through from Srila Prabhupada. So there was Bhaktivedanta Manor, and those deities. How many have seen that installation? You people need to watch a lot more videos following Srila Prabhupada. That's why they were made. Everyone, you should see Srila Prabhupada. You should follow him. See what he did, see what he said, see how he moves, everything. Those deities also very special. Radha Golokananda, Gokulananda. Radha Gokulananda, correct? Yeah. Those deities were in a pandal months before, I think 1973. Perhaps it was in Delhi. Prabhupada spoke every evening for a week. And then after his lecture, he spoke in Hindi, then there would be kirtan. All of Prabhupada's dancing white elephants. So many of us were there. All the Westerners, white-bodied devotees, dancing on the stage. Achyutananda Swami. He became a Bengali, Achyutananda Swami. He was incredible. Well, he played the mridanga. You've heard his chanting, his bhajans, everything. He would be leading kirtan every night. Prabhupada sitting on the Vyasasan, playing the kartals, sometimes playing the gong. They were not installed, but they were there. Then the final night came. Prabhupada gave his lecture, and then the kirtan started. These kirtans, again, you have to understand, Srila Prabhupada's presence made everything 100 times, 1,000 times more ecstatic. Just watching him sitting on the Vyasasan, smiling. He would see us, and he'd smile, watching his funny Western Vaishnavas. He said that once. Somebody said, Prabhupada, not too many people at the kirtan tonight. He said, oh, you didn't see? Narada Muni was here. Rupa Goswami was here. And they're all laughing, watching these Westerners dancing to Hare Krishna. Seeing these Westerners all around the world, it drew their presence. What Prabhupada did, not who we were, what Prabhupada was doing, traveling around the world. He brought the attention of everyone, the demigods. Lord Brahma said he came to the kirtans at times. In London, they have seats for Lord Brahma and Narada Muni. They came to the kirtan so often. Prabhupada would see them. So that night, the last night, thousands, 10,000 people in the pandal. And the kirtan's going on, Achyutananda standing there at the microphone, playing the mridanga so expertly, chanting. And then Prabhupada got up. And then he walked in front of the deities. So now he gets up off of the Vyasasan, he's standing there before the deities. Everybody's jumping up and down on the stage. And Prabhupada looked at them, and he bowed, and he did a 360, turned and bowed again, and started walking around. He circumambulated the deities. Then he came around once, and he stopped before them, and he bowed his head. And again, 360 did, and bowed, and walked around again. Then it went around the third time. So by the third time going around, everyone's in ecstasy, jumping up and down, because Prabhupada's in ecstasy. And Prabhupada's raising his arms, and he gets to the third time, And he bowed and he turns, big smile on his face. And he started dancing. Everyone went crazy. Everyone dancing on this flimsy wooden stage, on the altar, by the altar, this platform. Everyone's dancing and Prabhupada's dancing. Myself and Jamuna, she was on one side, I was on the other side of the deities. Everyone's dancing. And then you saw Radha Krishna, they're also dancing. They're going back and forth, there's everything shaking on the stage. And then we held them by their feet, by their lotus feet. We were holding them so they didn't fall. Then Prabhupada stopped. Then he got into the car. He said, so? He would say sometimes, he would like to hear our reactions. He said, so, it was nice? Yes, Prabhupada, very, very nice. He said, yes. He said, I would have kept on dancing, but I could see that the deities, they were rocking back and forth. He said, so I had to stop. So then it was some months later, Bhaktivedanta Manor, Janmashtami Day. He installed those deities there at Bhaktivedanta Manor. Put it on YouTube, following Srila Prabhupada, Bhaktivedanta Manor, Janmashtami, deity installation. Watch Srila Prabhupada. This whole society, we're all about Srila Prabhupada, what he's still doing to this day. It's not something historical. Like we said, New Year's. Prabhupada, do we celebrate New Year's? He said, every day we celebrate New Year's. Not one day a year. Every day, he said, is new. Navayovana. Everything is new every day in Krishna consciousness. You could see that with Srila Prabhupada. Always happy. So that day he installed those deities. And then what happened? Who knows? After the installation, he stood before them and he bowed. Very same deities. And he turned around and he started dancing around. Much smaller area, the altar there at the time, black and white ceramic tile floor there on the altar. And Prabhupada did the exact same thing he did months before. He danced around them and he told the devotees, because no one knew what to do, and he told them to join, to follow him. And you can see this. You watch this video. It's live streaming. It's not historical. This is going on. These activities are going on. We have classes on Srimad Bhagavatam. For the last 50 years, you'll hear stories about Lord Nrsingadev, huh? You hear the same stories. Do you become tired of it? No. It becomes more exciting every time you hear it. That same feeling should be there with Srila Prabhupada. He's not some historical figure. He's a living personality. He's the very heart of this society. He keeps everything going. And he danced around. He did the same thing with the very same deities. As you travel around, some of you travel, you have different relationships with Radha Krishna. I know I go to Atlanta, there's Gaur Nitai there. They're very special, Gaur Nitai. They brought me back there the last 5 years in a row somehow or other. Every time I go, I remember Prabhupada gave a 2-minute lecture and he started crying, watching Gaur Nitai, those deities. So that was Bhaktivedanta Manor. But he made it seem so simple. everything he did, completely in touch with Krishna, Radha, Krishna. And then finally, 1975 came, Ram Navami. What happened on that day, 1975? The installation of Krishna Balaram, Radha Shyama Sundar, Shri Gaur Nitai in Vrindavan. 50 years ago, we just celebrated it a few months ago. 100 of Prabhupada disciples came there. We won't see that many Prabhupada disciples gather anywhere again. 100 of his disciples were there. The artiks were all done by Prabhupada disciples. Mangal artik on that morning, the different. I was just asking my godbrothers. Some of them hadn't done artik for 40 years. I said, don't matter, just get up there. That's what Prabhupada did. He just engaged us. 3 days the installation went on. Prabhupada was sitting on the side. The installation was being done by South Indian Brahmins because we had to please all the Goswamis in Vrindavan that they would see this is bona fide temple, bona fide deities installed properly. Prabhupada would tell us all the time in the room, all we have to do is chant Hare Krishna. We did this for them. And Prabhupada, the most important deities in the whole world in his home in Vrindavan, Prabhupada sat on the side. Watch that video. You want to see what humility is? Just look at Srila Prabhupada sitting there for 3 days. He installed deities all over the world, and in his very home, he sat on the side and he watched. And he had a very grave face. One of his godbrothers heard the devotees, Prabhupada disciples, chanting the mantras along with the South Indian Brahmins. And of course, he's hearing our Western devotees chanting these mantras, and his godbrother said, Maharaj, they're not chanting properly. Prabhupada didn't say anything. Some time went on again. He said, they're chanting. It's not right. It's not pakka. Third time. Never goes past 3. Third time. Swami Maharaj, the way they're chanting, not right. Prabhupada looked at him. They're just practicing. 50 years later, we're still just practicing. That's our business. There's no question of perfection in Krishna consciousness. No one ever sees, I've reached a perfectional stage. The longer you're here, the more you realize, I know nothing. All I can do is render a little service to my spiritual master, that's all. But Prabhupada sat there and he watched. And then finally his moment came. Everyone, you've seen that photo at least, right? Prabhupada doing the first aratik, Krishna Balaram Mandir. And every time, first the incense, then the ghee lamp, then the water, conch shell, and then finally it comes to the fan. And Prabhupada's beaming. What he had done. What he had done. Incredible what Prabhupada did for all of us. And it goes on and on. Radha Madan Mohan, just to go there. I don't even go to Madan Mohan temple in Vrindavan. Here I go there every evening, I go see them. Come here every evening. Vrindavan, difficult place for me. My wife and I, the Balaram Mandir. This is how he trained us. We were talking about that the other day, loyalty, chastity. Only one thing you need to give, in ISKCON, you give your loyalty to Srila Prabhupada, everything else will be fine. And those South Indian Brahmins who did the ceremony, Prabhupada interviewed different groups in his room before the installation ceremony. He interviewed the first group, and he said, so they talked, he told them how they were going to do, what they would do. And then Prabhupada said, okay, very nice. Then he said, take prasadam. No, we have to be somewhere. We have to be somewhere, Maharaj. And they refused. So then Prabhupada called in another group, went through the same ritual with them. What will you do? How will you do it? And then Prabhupada said to him, so you can stay with us and take prasadam. Yes, Maharaj, we'll take prasadam. Prabhupada picked them. He could understand these people. They had no respect for Prabhupada's disciples, his Western Vaishnavas. Prabhupada was never embarrassed. He could embarrass us in a group, but he was always very proud when he went to Vrindavan, introducing his Western Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis to everyone. Look at him, he would say. He left his family, millionaire family. He would say, would you go back for $1 million? No, Prabhupada, just see, he would say. Just see. So I think it's time now for Aratik. No? Carry on. Okay. 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 This is what we do in ISKCON. You follow the authority. They tell you to do something, you do it. I have 10 more minutes. So we're all very, very fortunate. And I got to see that good fortune every day for way, way more times than I deserve. What Prabhupada has given all of us. Traveled to every continent, putting his lotus feet down all over the world. He knew what he was doing. He knew everywhere he went, he was purifying that place. He didn't speak like that. That's not Vaishnava attitude. But he did say things sometimes. Once he told me a story in Juhu. I was in Juhu just yesterday. Yesterday? Yes, yesterday. I was in Juhu yesterday after deity installation there, their anniversary, 48 years ago, when they opened the temple. And what was I going to say? Thank you. I was massaging him there in one of the flats. Back in those days, the deities, Radha Rasa Bahari, I was telling them, everywhere Prabhupada went, he was thinking about Radha Rasa Bahari. He was in Los Angeles, he was meditating on them. He was in Bombay, he was meditating on. He was in Vrindavan, wrote a letter to Guru Das. I have to be in Vrindavan for Kartik, and then I'm going to Mumbai. He spent more time in Juhu, Mumbai, than anywhere in the world in the 10 years that he was with us. That's how important that place is. And why? Because that was his biggest battle, was to see. He promised them a palace, most beautiful temple he promised them. But they were not in a palace. They were in a shack. Looked like what you see on the roadside where somebody's selling beaties or something. It just corrugated tin roof, some doors, winter, summer, no air conditioning, no heating, nothing. And they stood there for years. And Prabhupada would see them many times over the year, every year. He was determined to keep that land so big, beautiful temple could be built there. And by his determination, by his desire, it happened. But while we were there, big battles going on. I remember one GBC came from Europe. He was a Grahasta, big, powerful disciple of Srila Prabhupada. So he was going to come and take care of business. One after another, his disciples would come, and they couldn't manage in India. They didn't know how to deal with Indian politics, Indian law, all the cunning, such cunning people. Prabhupada says when someone's cunning, you have to be more cunning. No one was more cunning than Srila Prabhupada. Everything he did. So he was in his room one night after his evening meal, puffed rice. He told me that night, make me puffed rice, moody. He said, last night you made me puris and sabji, because he asked me to, potato, eggplant, sabji, and puris. He said, and then it was difficult to get up to do my translation work. Imagine how he thought. He's getting up at midnight. I'm massaging him 10 o'clock at night. He's getting up 2-3 hours later. But he said it was difficult. He said, so tonight you make muri. So I did that. And that brought on so many memories. So then I'm massaging him that evening. Most wonderful place, Juhu, because it was filled with mosquitoes, big mosquitoes. Looked like flies, they were so big. But that was good, because that meant I had to be in the bed with Prabhupada, with the mosquito net over the bed, not sitting on the floor. So for me, that was like I was camping out with him in a tent. I felt very happy to be in there with him, massaging. In the 30 seconds it took to put down the mosquito net, there's mosquitoes inside already. That's how many mosquitoes there were there. And that's when I found something out. I'm massaging his back, and I see a mosquito right on his back. And I don't know what to do, and I'm massaging, and finally I went, he said, that's all right, they're attacking. And then he quoted Manu Samhita. He said, you have to defend yourself when they're attacking. He said that was it. I became a Kshatriya just like that. I'm like, killing all the mosquitoes around. And then he's talking. He said, when I was a child, one night I told my mother, I want puris. She said, it's too late. I'll make you muri. Prabhupada never accepted that answer. You had to do what he wanted or else. I learned that night, even as a child. He told me different stories. He said, I want puris. His mother again said, no, let me make you nice puffed rice and peanuts. And no, third time. He said, I want puris. He said, then my father said, if he wants puris, give him puris. Then he looked at me and said, perhaps my father knew. That's all he said. Such a simple little statement. Perhaps my father knew. Prabhupada knew what he was doing. Prabhupada knew what he would be doing. Perhaps my father knew. This is the person which spread Krishna consciousness all around the world. Installed deities all around the world. So many things you can list. Disciples all around the world. There in Melbourne, he said, he prayed to the deities, please, you accept the service from these Malecha Vaishnavas. They had no idea what to do. That's all right, Prabhupada had to do it. No one else was going to do it. It was his seva, his service, his duty to his spiritual master. We're all very, very fortunate to be part of this ISKCON society. Incredibly fortunate to be here. Don't ever think anything else. You need anything else. Mexico City, Prabhupada giving a lecture. You have to remember Krishna at the time of death. Not such an easy thing. He describes time of death when your body, the process. So after his lecture, in that place he asked questions. Not many temples will you hear question and answers after his lecture. But there, he was being introduced there, Mexico City Temple. And one older Mexican lady, disciple of Prabhupada, she raised her hand. She said, Srila Prabhupada, what if we can't remember Krishna at the time of death? What if we remember you? Prabhupada smiled. He said, that's all right. That's all you have to do. It's not difficult to remember Srila Prabhupada. Everything we know is coming through Srila Prabhupada. How simple. How simple it is to be appreciative. So all you have to do is be appreciative. Do a little service. Follow the rules, regulations. He guarantees you go back home, back to Godhead. Jew, Mr. Nair, he was the one sold the land, but he thought he was going to get it back as he had done previously, multiple times. But Prabhupada was more cunning than he was, more cunning. He wrote one letter later on, just after Mr. Nair had died. That's a whole other story we won't mention. No time, but then he wrote a letter to that disciple, one of his disciples. He was a Swami. And he had a very special affection for this one other Swami this person, 100 devotees joined with this person. He was a Kundalini yogi. And they were all completely dedicated to him. And he surrendered to Prabhupada, so they all surrendered to Prabhupada. But only through him. And their way of practicing Krishna consciousness was a little different. Anyway, it came to pass at one time, this devotee wrote Prabhupada a letter and say, I only want to follow the pure devotee, mentioning this devotee as a pure devotee, and saying these others in ISKCON, not so pure devotees. Ooh, Prabhupada chastised him. He said, you think like that, you're nonsense rascal. He said, all my disciples, Prabhupada said, are pure devotees. He says, it may be him, may not be him, may be my secretary, maybe this one, maybe that one. He said, they're all pure devotees. He said, and there'll be an ISKCON in the spiritual world. And all my followers will be there. Everyone will be there in ISKCON in the spiritual world. Everyone except Mr. Nair. Poor Mr. Nair. Oh, not poor Mr. He caused so much trouble for Srila Prabhupada. So don't make trouble for Srila Prabhupada. Just do your best. Here, this place is so wonderful. I feel so blessed to be here. I was saying today, I said to my wife, I said, everywhere we go, I said, something I have to do. Vrindavan, most intense place in the whole world. I finally realized when Prabhupada said, 100 times you do something in Vrindavan, service, 1% becomes 100%, 100 times. He said, but if you make offenses, also 100 times. And very easy to make offenses in Vrindavan. So there, going here, there, always have to do something. I come here, all I have to do is pick flowers in the morning, worship my Govardhan, association of so many wonderful devotees. Most every day you get to see Radhanath Maharaj a little bit, get a hug from him, feel so secure, so nice. You all know, I don't have to tell you, such a special place. And what does he do? He just follows Prabhupada's instructions. You follow his instructions, this is what can happen. So I don't know if I'm supposed to stop here or carry on. Gauranga Prabhu. I think we're ready to move on. Or maybe not. Until he says something. Anyone have any questions, comments? So this is a very special day. I know 6 years ago, amazing Madan Mohan Temple. Who could even imagine such a thing? It's not even within my imagination. I'm not a very imaginative person, but I see Radhanath Maharaj, like Prabhupada, just do it. Because you know, ultimately, Krishna's doing everything. Because all we have to do is try to follow our spiritual master. Okay. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Shri Radha Madan Mohan ki jai. Radhanath Maharaj ki jai. Gaur Premanandi.
Thank you very much, Shrutkirti Prabhu, for beautiful sharing of pastimes of Shri Prabhupada, and on the occasion of the anniversary of Shri Madan Mohan Brahmotsavam Festival. We also welcome His Holiness Giriraj Maharaj. Madan Mohan. Many other Shri Prabhupada disciples who are here. Let us offer a welcome to all those special guests with loudly chanting. Of Madan Mohan Temple is also open for the next 45 minutes, and also Bharati will happen here. So I request again Govardhan Prabhu to lead the final kirtan.